sipping Hermaneuticals. Well, get out.
It's your boy.
Jeffrey.
What up, you guys?
Well.
All right,
Now we're back with Ed, and he was telling us about when he just came into the hospital.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'd like to say I remember that I couldn't even open my eyes. I couldn't see anything. They put bandages all over my face. I looked like a mummy. They put this netting. It's kind of like a netting mesh, exactly. And then they put me in a room, and they asked me if I was claustrophobic. And I thought that was kind of strange. And I said, no. And they said, well, we want to put you into a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Dr. Grossman had actually developed this. And
Wow.
at that time, they were not the ones that you see where you walk into. It was like a torpedo tube. And I remember having to shrink my shoulders in so as they slid me in it, that I would fit in it. And the glass just, I mean, I couldn't even sit up. And then you hear that back, just like a torpedo tube, and that back thing comes around and they spin that thing shut. And it's a little eerie, you know, when they put you in and they pump all the air out, they suck the air out, and then they fill it with 16 pounds of pressure of pure oxygen. And I did that twice a day for 30 minutes. And the next day my eyes started to open up, and they said that could have took close to a week if you couldn't have gone inside there.
Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
Would you kind of explain to, you know, someone that pretty much that not really familiar with the hyper tank, would you explain to them what it actually does?
What it does is it puts pure oxygen, you know, your air and atmospheric air is about 20% oxygen.
Right.
And so what it does is it puts 100% pure oxygen on your surface, and it raises your blood oxygen level way up. So it promotes healing. It like supercharges your body for the healing process to help you to get. It still takes a while, but it's much better. Like the swelling went down real quick. When we're on that subject, I remember, and you know, you asked me earlier, what did you think about, you know, you'd only been saved a few months. Were you angry? I get that question a lot. Were you mad at God because he let you get burned? And I never was angry. I just remember saying, I got 2 kids and a wife. I got to get back to work, man. These bills don't stop.
Exactly. That was my mind frame was it as well.
Man, let's sew this thing up. I got to get out of here, you know? And later on, I realized, yeah, this isn't going to happen right away. But I went in there and, you know, you can affect people no matter what's going on with you. You can have an effect on people. You can have an effect on people to the good, or you can have an effect on people to the bad.
Right.
And I was in that, and there's a person that sits outside of it that operates it, and they're just a foot away from you. You can look, you turn your head slightly, you can look through the plastic and see them there. And this lady was really having a bad day. She was real short-tempered, and you know, because they talk to you, and you know, they ask you if your ears are, you know, adjusting. It's like going up in the mountains, you know, and coming down. And I said, and just imagine, I'm all burnt up.
Right.
And I said, are you okay, ma'am? And you know, it's not what you say, it's kind of how you say it. You know what I'm saying? And I knew she was having a bad day. And I said softly to her, I just said, ma'am, are you okay? And she said, no, I'm not. And I, you know, people can be, you know, she may have gotten home and gotten news that her grandma died, or you never know what's going on with people.
Right.
And so I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll change places with you. And she started crying. And I said it, you know, not being upset, but I said, ma'am.
In a calm voice.
In a calm voice.
I said, I'll change places with you. And then you could just see the reality. There's always somebody who's going to have it worse than you have it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people that had it way worse than I had it when I was there. And this lady said she was sorry, and the tears were coming down. And it was a spiritual moment on
Right.
how the Lord just helped that lady. Whatever her problem was, it didn't seem as big when she left.
Right.
And I'm glad I could I felt that I helped her, maybe to kind of realize, we all have problems. We all know things. And so, but anyway, I did those. But now I remember the first day they got the bandages on. Now comes the whirlpools, the alien, often known and called the torture chamber.
Right.
This is, they take all the bandages off and they put you in a tank of water and they turn the bubbles on and they start washing. And at that time, they take you off morphine and they give you Demerol. Demerol is synthetic morphine, so you don't get the nausea. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. Highly, highly addictive. They don't even allow it in the hospital anymore.
Right.
Fortunately, I don't have an addictive physiology or whatever. So anyway, they give you your shot. About 30 minutes later, when it's right at the top, they roll you out there, and then they start taking these bandages off. Now, what it does is when they take these bandages off, it virtually pulls the skin off of you.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it
The dead skin.
the burnt skin.
Yeah.
It's not dead.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, back when my kids were born, and it's funny how the Lord will bring things to your remembrance. And my daughter was born in 78, one, and the other one was in 81. And so I remember we had to do Le Mans class before,
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to be in for the birth, you had to do, you're familiar with that.
Yes.
And one of the things about Le Mans is you're breathing and focus.
Mm-hmm.
You breathe and you focus. And I remember laying on that table, and it had that perforated ceiling, with the little panels, and it had the sprinklers, the fire sprinklers up there. And I would look at those sprinklers and I'd say, I wonder where that water would go. If that thing came on, and I started thinking about that. And as they started to take those bandages off, I'd start breathing, just like that class said. And it's unbelievable how that worked. And the more it hurt, the faster I would breathe. And every once in a while, they'd pull a bandage and they'd get a good snag. And then I'd go, oh, and then the pain doubled. And they'd stop and they'd say, get it back. And I would. And that got me through the whole thing with the whirlpools as I was there. I went in one time, they had a 13 or 14-year-old boy, and red-haired people have very light-colored skin, and it's tougher on them. But him and his friends were making those little Molotov cocktail things with pop bottles, filling them with gas, and then throwing them and watching them blow up. Well, when they lit his and he went to throw it, the rag fell out and the gas ran down his arm and caught on fire on his side and on his arm. And they don't normally take two of you in at the same time, but they were pulling his bandages off as they rolled me in. And when your kids are fussing because they're fussing or crying, or they're crying because they're hurting. And this kid was screaming. He was begging them to kill him because he couldn't take it. And the nurses, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And they take a bandage off, and that kid would I'll never forget that. And he made it, he was burnt, but not near as bad as I was, but it was, pretty good size burn. So I just remember that. And then they would take you, once you got all the bandages off and now you caught your breath, and now all this open skin and those nerves are sticking out, they're just, anything touches them. And then they had a thing that lifted me up like a winch and set me down on this gurney type thing in the tub of water. And I remember the guy said, take your good leg, because it burnt my right leg and my right arm and my face and my back. And he said, check the temperature. And I did. And I said, that's good. And then as he let it on down in, my burnt leg went in. I said, hold it, man. It's too hot. It's burning. He said, no. And he just kept going on down. He goes, that's the chlorine bleach we put in the water. So just hang on. And then when you get in there and you kind of get used to that, then they turn the bubbles on. And then it's, agitating and So this whole process is, and then when they pull you out, they set you back up on the table. And, you know, I grew up in northern Indiana, so I know what cold is. But I've never been that cold in my life. They put me back up on that table, and my teeth started chattering. I couldn't stop them. And I was just like shaking. And the lady asked me, "So are you cold?" I said, "I'm freezing to death, and I don't know why." And she said, "That's no problem." She said, "I'll turn the lights on." And I'm not talking about the lights so you can see. It's just like you was at Denny's. And you know where the food goes out and just before the servers pick it up and they got those little lights, the heat lamps.
They would call them warmers.
Pardon me?
I think they would call them warmers.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have about 8 of them that's right above you. And she says, "I'll turn the lights on." So she turned them on, and oh man, it took that chill away. And then they start to put the bandages on. I remember in a couple of minutes, this nurse is just sweating like crazy. And I said, "Are you hot?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's about 120 degrees right here where I'm at." I said, "Well, turn them lights off." She goes, "Oh, no, that's okay. I can do it." And so, but once they get the bandages on you, and because nobody saw me without my bandages except the nurses. My family didn't see me. And then they would take me back, and then I just lay there in bed, and they would squirt you with saline solution. That's why they use the netting to keep the bandages moist, because you didn't want them sticking.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of interesting things happened to me. You know, this was right around the time, you know, I grew up in Indiana, played basketball in high school, big basketball fan. And Magic Johnson, you know, had been in LA for a couple of years. And boy, the play was on, and I was glued to that TV.
Please tell me you're not a Lakers fan.
Well, right now I'm not really any fan. I don't follow sports like I used to, but you know, I was always, you know, Larry Bird in Indiana. I always loved his attitude, you know.
Right.
But that's another video.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so during this time, as I'm starting to heal up, I got some nurses, and they had a lot of male nurses because they were moving, you know, people around. And I met guys that I will never, ever forget. Oh gosh, that's funny that I should say I never forget. Milfred was the white guy, kind of reddish hair, and he was a comedian. And if you had the mental makeup, and they can tell, they would joke with you sometimes. Like, he would come in and he'd say, "Why can't," and would tell you leper jokes, because in a burn ward. And he'd say, "How come lepers can't play poker?" Because they're always throwing their hands in. Or why can't lepers play hockey? Because there's always a face-off in the corner, you know. And just I'm busting up laughing. And I remember when I went to go use the bathroom for the first time, I was going to actually stand up. It was about 2 weeks. And I called him. I hated to bug him. And I said, you know, I got to use the bathroom. And the bathroom was only about, 8 or 10 feet from my bed. And he said, "You're going to get up and walk to the bathroom." And I was excited. So he told me, he said, "You know, take it easy. You haven't touched the ground in 2 weeks." So I was, and I looked like an old man. I'm shuffling along, and I'm really concentrating. I don't want to fall. And I'm getting close, and Milford says, "Mention my name, you'll get a good seat." And I'm busting up laughing. I said, "Shut up, Milford," because I'm trying to concentrate. And he's cracking me up with these jokes. And the other guy I had was Preston. Preston was this black guy that was bigger than life. He played middle linebacker for USC.
Wow.
He had got out of college. He wasn't quite good enough to go to the next level, but he joined the Army and went to Vietnam as a medic. And that's where he learned, you know, that. But this guy was just, I mean, he was like, you probably can't see my arms, but he was this wide on top, and he was narrow waist, and just the nicest guy that you'd ever want to meet. And he always called me Captain. You know, "How you doing, Captain?" And I said, "Man, Milford or Preston, I'm doing great." And so the Lord sent those guys that really meant a lot to me. I had another situation where a guy came in, a 25-year-old guy come in. He was changing a transformer on a power pole. He was a lineman, and they turned the power on him while he was changing the transformer, and it blew him off the pole, and it actually stopped his heart, and they got him going again. And I saw him in the burn, where they take all the bandages off one time, and he was black all the way through his arms, through his chest, and out the other arm. And I remember his mom coming, and somehow they realized I was a Christian, because I would always talk to people. I just loved it.
Right.
And she came in, and she had a little issue. She wasn't handling this real good, so she came to the hospital one day, and she had had several drinks in her, and you could tell it. And I felt so sorry for her because she was really taking it bad. And she came into my room, and I was, you could have two people, but I was the only one in there. And she said, crying and begging me, would you pray for my son? They're going to amputate his arm. And I said, I will pray. Imagine me. I'm there looking like the mummy. Nobody saw me. I'm, with all the bandages on. You could just see my eyes. And they were all burnt up, and they were hanging out, and black and blood. And I said, I will pray for your son. And I did. I prayed for her son. Well, they weren't getting any blood flow into his arm. And if they didn't take it off, he would die of gangrene. It would get infected.
Yes.
Right.
Well, they waited one more day, and they started seeing some blood flow. And they waited one more day, and he ended up losing 2 fingers. And that lady was just beside herself when she come in. Oh, thank you so much. And I just, this may sound strange, but that 3 weeks was probably one of the best times of my life, when I was able to see some things happen and saw people that helped me. And then when they took me in for surgery, they did 2 graft surgeries where they took skin off my arms and my legs. Milford, they took the skin off my legs. I got the scars on my grafts. You can see it's just a discoloration. And they put some on my lips and on my nose. And Milford said, yeah, they grafted some skin off your legs on your lips. I said, oh, that's good. And he said, yeah, the only problem is you're going to be running off at the mouth now. And,
that was a good one.
so that's Milton for you. That's Milton.
That was a good one.
You got to tell Milton get out. Milton, I tell everybody, you know me, get out.
Get out. Nurse with you. But, I had another thing happen to me. I had never had any surgeries before, so I was a little nervous about the first one, but it was no big deal. So the second one, they did a little touch-up. It wasn't much. And so the guy said, count backwards from 100, and, they gave you the sodium pentothal, and you're all relaxed. And I'm thinking this is going to be a piece of cake. Well, what happened was the anesthesiologist miscalculated and didn't give me enough medication to knock me out, but he gave me enough medication to paralyze me.
Wow.
Because when they paralyze you, the only thing that doesn't stop is your heart. You can't breathe. And so I'm laying on the table, and he goes, instead of asking me to count backward, he goes, tell me when you feel tired, or, or something to that effect. And I go, I feel like that right now. And they had that little respirator, kind of laying on my face, and it's kind of bleeding air into it. And I remember letting a breath out, and I couldn't take another breath. But I could sure hear everything was going on.
Wow.
And I gave it everything I had, and I got my finger to twitch. And I remember the nurse saying, doctor, he's not out. And they took that little respirator thing, it's got the bag, and they squeezed the bag, and it's like swimming 25 laps of the pool and coming up for a breath. Then I went out. I told my wife later about it, and boy, she had a fit. That anesthesiologist came in and apologized, and my wife said, so this is the smotherer here, huh? And I said, baby, listen.
I think she sounded like me.
Yeah. And you could see him. He was like, yeah, well, nothing was really going to happen. He was just going to pass out. Yeah, but he didn't know that, did he? Well, no. And so as far as he's concerned, he could have smothered, huh? Well, and she got him to say yes finally. And I told my wife, I said, listen, hey, the day I become perfect, then we can worry about it. But that's not going to happen. I'm okay. It was kind of a situation that you don't really want to go through.
Right.
The thing that happened then was, after they did the debridement where they scrape all this skin, that was the first surgery, and they put these skin Band-Aids on. And then the doctor came in himself, and then they started to take the bandages off, and you've seen the pictures. And in about a 10-day period of time, you know, the devil said, I got this guy. And the Lord said, not quite yet. No, not quite yet. And he would come in, and this scab, you know, looked like I had a beard, but it was a black scab. And this started healing, and they would start picking it off. And when they got down to the bottom of it, my skin was just like baby skin. It was as smooth and clean. It was really crazy. It wasn't just healed up. I mean, it was, you know, I'm 66 now, and I was, 27 then, 28?
Right.
And I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was nice and tight and smooth. And so the doctor would bring and you had a lot of interns, people going around. It's just like on TV, you know. Yeah. He's the main guy, so he's got a half a dozen of these people. And I'd be in the whirlpool, and they'd be working that scab. And I remember him reaching down and taking my face like this and just doing this. And he goes, look at that. He said, I want you to see this, because you'll never see this again. Because I'm a good doctor, and this guy's a good patient, but there's somebody else involved in this deal.
Right.
And when they first did the debridement, my wife asked him, how long is he going to survive? And the thing that gave me a 50% chance to live was the possibility of breathing in the hot air.
Right.
And I don't know how many chest x-rays, and my lungs were perfect. And, you know, it almost burnt my ears off. And and he got another procedure. They take antibiotics and squirt it straight in the ear. And the only blood flow that the cartilage gets is from the skin. And now the skin's burnt. And you know what cauliflower is, you know, wrestlers get it.
Right.
Well, I mean, they healed right up. And the guy was just really beside himself. He just couldn't believe that. He said, I've never, ever seen this before, you know.
Mr. Ed, I got a question.
Sure.
As we were reading your flyer, and we went to your website, which we're going to put in the description below. And we're also going to put that flyer at the end of this video. So anyone that wants to go on to Mr. Ed's site and read about his amazing story can also do so. But my thing is, when I read it, I read the title, The Fiery Furnace. That struck, you know.
Yeah, I had, when I first started to want to do these, I went to a meeting. We had a big safety meeting, and I got a hold of another guy that does this keynote speaking, and he does his is called Terry's Treasure. And he was a safety guy, and it's basically what's in your treasure chest. What's important to you today? Is it your car? Is it your house? No, it's your family. And he personally was in a helicopter when they took a guy that had fallen into this. It was a wastewater, oily water that was 220 degrees. He fell in it, and they got him out, and his wife was pregnant. And he tells the story, you know, when he talked to the guy on the way to the hospital, and the guy asked him, am I going to see my baby born? And I mean, obviously you're not going to tell him no, but he didn't make it. And so that's the first thing he asked. Am I going to see my baby born? And he didn't make it. So, but he told me, I talked to him, and he was such a good guy. I talked to him, and he goes, man, you're really going to make it. You got a good way with people. You like to talk to people, and you got a message. You're passionate about it. And he said, what you need is a name. You got to call this, like his was Terry's Treasure Chest. He said, you got to have a name. And I said, man, I really have no idea. So I thought about it, and he was a Christian. And he emailed, he said, man, I got one for you. How about Ed's Fiery Furnace? And it just med sense, you know, like Shadrach, Abednego.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Right.
but he wouldn't burn. You know, I burned a little bit, not quite like them, but the Lord did a really big miracle for me. And so, you know, where he told my wife when she asked, how long is he going to be here once they realized I was going to make it? And how's he going to look? And the doctor said, well, it's going to take 4 or 5 months and probably 3 or 4 or more plastic surgeries, but we can get him look pretty decent. And you've seen burn victims, you know what they look like.
Yes, yes.
As this whole thing started to play out, and he come in and he said, man, I wanted to get, Easter was right there, and I made it home for Easter. My first Easter, I walked into the church. It was at the end of March. It was they let me out on a Monday, and Easter was that following Sunday. And I was in the hospital for 1 day short of 3 weeks. And so to see that, and I remember people looking at me. The pastor came and saw me when I was in the burn ward, and it was a Wednesday when they had a Wednesday night service, and he went back to the church and said, man, we need to pray for Brother Ed. You know, here I'm a new Christian. He says he may not make it through the night, you know, and the church was praying. Everybody was praying for me.
Right.
And then walk into the church 3 weeks later. I mean, I wasn't 100%. I had a few little scabs left on me, but it was nothing compared. So the Lord was just really, really, you know, what can you say?
Yeah.
He was basically making you, while you was in the hospital, he was showing you how you can help people. Even in your state, you still can help people. And then turn right back around when he said, okay, some people in the temple will still say, like my pastor said today, you can say, hallelujah, I love you, Lord, but they really don't have that, still to have that faith. And when you walk through the door, that will gave them, oh, are you serious right now? I think Jesus said it best, blessed are thou that have not seen and still believe.
Yeah.
See, now that's where that came in.
Yeah, Thomas said, you know, I see. And he said, blessed art thou, O Thomas, who has seen and believed, but more blessed are they that have seen not and believe.
Thank you. Thank you for clearing that up for me. You know where I was going with it.
Exactly. Well,
I tell people that's thinking, you know, I don't have a lot of faith, you know, and people get down sometimes, you know, you read the stories about the faith that they had back then. And I say, listen, let me read this to you. You don't think you got a lot of faith? Jesus said, hey, you got more faith than they did because you've never seen me and you believe in me. Right. Great message, brother. Great message there. So, but anyway, the other thing was I was able to go back to work because I was really loved welding. And mentally, if you're afraid you're going to get burned up or blown up, then you're done welding. And
exactly.
It never bothered me. And it bothered my wife. She says, can you please be a little careful? Because she says, you know, getting burns not like mumps or measles. Once you've had it, you're immune. And I go, yeah, I know that. And I am very careful. But, you know, so a lot of time went by. I became a welder. The Lord blessed. Let me tell you this. When I went back to work, and it was in August, I kept bugging the doctor, and he said, listen, you're wanting to go out in the heat? And he wanted to fit me with one of these pressure garments, you know, Nacho Libre, you know, the mask. And I said, come on, doc, are you kidding me? And he goes, I don't want this to mess up. You know, it's a pressure to keep it. Finally, he said, just forget it. And he said, hey, somebody else involved here, and I'm not going to mess it up. So I never had to wear any pressure garments. And I remember he finally let me go back to work, but it was slow, and it was hard for me to find a job.
Right.
And it was a couple of weeks, and I finally got on, and it was about 40 miles from the house, and I drive out there, and I was there about 2 weeks, and my truck broke down. I had a 71 Chevy, 1 ton with a well bed on it. And so I had my wife come, send the girls over to one of the neighbors, And at 7 o'clock, she came out, and I was towing my welding truck in with a Ford Fairmont because I had to get it fixed. And I had a tow bar, and she was driving. I was driving the car, and she was just, I said, now listen, just don't touch the wheel. I'll go slow. And the truck got out of control. It started whopping, and it pushed my car around and spun around, and it flipped my truck with her in it and totaled it. And dust was flying. And I ran back there, and she flew out of the door opened up, and she was just sitting there alongside the road, and my truck was completely destroyed. And I'm thinking, you know, she got some bumps. They took her to the hospital. She was okay. That was on a Wednesday. And I called the guy, and he said, man, if you can't get out here Monday, I'm going to have to replace you, but I can give you to Monday. And I said, what am I going to do? I hadn't worked in 8 months. I got no money. But you know, the Lord, nothing's too tough.
Right.
She came home, and on Thursday, I went down, I looked in the paper, and I found a brand new 83 Chevy 1-ton truck, had the welding bed on it and everything. The guy said, listen, you got the good credit, you know, $1,500 down. I said, sir, I don't have $1,500. There's no way. He said, well, we can give you some time. Don't worry about it. So I thought, if I have to. So I went to the bank, and I was on Friday, and I said, I need $4,000. Put the down payment, get some stuff to replace everything that tore up, and buy a welder.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, to make a long story short, they accepted the loan because I made a loan out to buy a boat at one time. So they had the credit app, and I didn't have to go through it all. Because she said on Friday, she says, I'll let you know Monday. I said, Monday's too late. I'll lose that job. Bottom line was, Saturday I went down there, put the down payment on that truck. I found a good used diesel machine. Went over, they put it on there. I got it all back. And Monday morning, I was on the job. I had a brand new welding truck. And I couldn't believe it. You know, there's no way. And then I worked a couple of days, and I went out one day, and nobody was there. And I said, what the heck's going on? And the security guard, didn't you hear? They shut that job down because they ran out of money.
Wow.
I hadn't worked in all this time. I got a payment on the loan from the bank. I got a payment on the truck. And now that's when you can choose to go down and stay down, or you can say, okay, what am I going to do?
What is my next option?
What's my next option? And I said, you know what? I'm going to stop on the way into town. And I stopped at a place. I gave him a card, and the guy said, do you have Chevron papers? And papers means, were you certified by Chevron? That was the toughest welding test. If you had Chevron papers, you could work for anybody. And I said, no, but I can pass the test. Well, I don't know, man. I've sent 8 welders and only 2 passed. And so I called the guy, Chevron. Virgil was his name. Never forget Virgil. He said, if you'll bring out $150, in 1983, $150 was a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yes, sir.
And to go to Taft, which was about 30 miles, he said, if you'll come out, give me a check for $150, I'll let you test. And he's not supposed to do that. He's supposed to be sponsored, like a company say, yeah, we're going to hire him. And so he let me test, and I left, and he called me back and said, dude, that well's good as gold, man. I'll send you your papers. I said, no, I'm going to come and get them. So I drove out. I stopped and got them. And Barney was the guy's name. I drove into the place where I wanted to go to work. And I said, there you go, Barney. I said, I'm certified. And he goes, be at Chevron tomorrow morning. It was in Bakersfield, so it was right around the block. He said, be there at 6 o'clock. And I worked there for 3 years.
That's awesome.
And then they went out of business finally, and I went to work for a company called PCL, and it's unheard of. I was a contract welder and became a superintendent, but I worked there 27 years.
That is awesome.
Now,
man.
I know we're supposed to be actually doing an interview, but I'm just absorbing all what God is, what He's blessing. He's just not showing one favor. He's just showing favor after favor after favor to a person that believes and trusts in Him.
Right.
You see, when you embed it, like I said, if you some people just have a relationship and then they just leave after they get the good things. Now, if you learn how to worship and believe in God when you have the best in life, and when the worst comes, it's make it more easier, if that make any sense.
Oh, well, it's almost kind of like, you go through valleys. We all go through valleys.
Yes.
Right.
And then you're going to go, and the old saying, it's the darkest before the dawn. When you're at the bottom, just hang on, because you're getting ready to go on a mountain. The devil's got his way with you. He's beating you up. Stay faithful. And then the Lord, and then that's what happened. And let me tell you this last one, and you don't know this. 2 years ago, being a welder for all those years, I had a bad back. I had lowered my lower disc, had a surgery, but I was doing good. I work shut down at a chemical plant. I mean, I'd go up 50 flights of stairs. This was just 2-3 years ago. I could work them young punks to death, man. I was 60. I said, "Come on, man, what are you doing? Let's go." Because I'd go to the gym. I played sport, played football and all that. So I knew, and I knew what I could do. And I just loved my job. And we were working a shutdown. It was 10, 16-hour days in a row. It was what it was.
Wow.
And an appointment, and my pain management guy said, "Listen, we can do a stem cell transplant, and that'll grow new disc." Because I'd have to have like an epidural steroid shot about every 2 or 3 years, calm it down. And so I decided to do that. And the stem cells were infected with E. coli bacteria. And I caught spinal meningitis.
Wow.
Now and it almost killed me. I remember when they would move me to take an MRI, we were trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And the pain, the doctor said, you can burn yourself. Hold on. There you are. I'll finish up. I said, you can burn yourself. Nothing's going to hurt like that. But I'm telling you, when they moved me, I'd scream as loud as I could. And I told my wife, I may not make it through this one. And I was in the hospital 100 days.
Wow.
I didn't think I'd walk again. And I got the videos of when I finally could sit up. And I remember praying one morning. I had an appointment, and I said, "Lord, please, please don't leave me like this." Wow. And man, that was, I went through all those other things. I've done my time. I paid my dues, and
so you had a Hezekiah moment.
Oh, man. And then I went in, and I could get in a wheelchair out of bed, and I'd roll into my little room, and I'd shave. They were going to come and take me to an appointment where they checked to see how my back's doing, away from the rehab place. And I remember I was sitting there eating breakfast, and I just started crying. And I said, "Lord," and for 5 minutes I prayed. And then it was just like everything was okay. I thought, okay, let's go. I'd got some bad results from a blood test, and then, I couldn't walk. The pain was so bad. But then when I got there, the doctor said, "Oh, don't worry about that blood test, because I was always an analytical guy. I wanted the numbers. I wanted to see how it was going,
Mm-hmm.
And it took me, that happened in May 2 years ago. And I thought for sure I'd go back to work that following year, but it retired me. Just before it, I was running up and down the stairs, and now I'm good. I'm probably the best shape of a disabled person that you'd want to meet. But I think the Lord knew, dude, they're going to bury you in a cement plant or in an oil field somewhere. You're not going to stop working. So I'm going to slow you down just a little bit here. And
now, who did that sound like?
Mega.
I think we on the same mind frame here. That's why we get along so well. When you first texted me, I'm like, okay, all right, what did I step into? With you, Gary, and Nick, and everyone. I'm like, wait a minute now. Why are because at one point this not pertaining to this, but at one point when I started doing YouTube, At first, I was doing YouTube just to have a history book. So if my kids have kids, they can see, oh, this is what their granddad or their grandmother did. But it looked like God blessed me to be around other believers that had that strong faith, that well bedded in. So that's why I keep constantly doing what I do.
Yeah, I really appreciate, the Dreamers love you, man. I'm telling you. I mean, I've seen, me, I actually got a hold of Gary. Gary lives down in the LA area, and so does Dan Ace. And we talked, message back and forth for a while. And then he said, hey, would you mind coming down here? We'd like to go to lunch. And I said, man, I'm on my way. And so we had lunch. And this was just before their first concert.
Right.
And, I'm a talker. I love to talk. And Gary's a little bit more
conservative. Yeah. Laid back. Yeah.
But boy, I spent a couple hours talking to them guys. And then we made a video and we sent it to Elmira, and we prayed for her right there. And I was taking the video and I sent it off to them, and they said, man, we sure appreciate it. And so it's amazing, how I just, I like to see people that have that faith. They got that faith, they know.
Yes.
And
gentlemen, how long, guys? I know we get excited.
Yes,
we're dreamers. But and we're gonna wrap it up. But one thing that I want you to leave, what would you leave for those that may be going through something and really don't know, how to, maybe get to that next step? What one thing that you would leave
word
with
of
them?
encouragement can you give to get to that next step?
It all starts with faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. I know when people get to a point, and the song that Mylene did, Jesus Take the Wheel, it's very that, when you get to a point where you just don't know what to do, and I've been there,
right.
And then just let Jesus take the wheel. Now, if you don't have, it takes a Christian to tell you. That's what God uses. He uses another Christian to tell you. And then when you hear the word, it builds faith. And then when you realize, hey, I'm a sinner and I need something else, and then you submit and you say, Lord, forgive me, and I want to take you as my Savior, it's instant. People say, what's it feel like to be a Christian? I said, it's the hardest question to answer that a saved person is going to tell you. But I look at it like this. If you carry a 50-pound bag of cement with you your whole life, you just get used to it. You get up in the morning with it, you go to bed with it, you go to work with it, and you don't even know it's there. But if somebody takes it off, it's gone.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I felt when I first got saved and I drove home. Something was different, man. And I was listening to Christian music. Man, I never listened to Christian music. My mouth was so bad. Every other word was bad. And I just stopped doing that. And I said, something's changed. Changed.
Right.
And all the things I went through just build your faith. Every time you go through one of those deals, those valleys, and the Lord pulls you out of it, hey, he did it once. Why is he? And then when I got sick this last time, I said, the Lord did it for me before. I don't think he's going to stop now. And he didn't. He brought me through. I get around good. I still race my Corvette. I don't race it, but I sure drive around with it and have a lot of fun with my Corvette. So the Lord's been good to me. So I have no complaints. And that's what I tell people, just hang in there. There is better. I told my Sunday school class today, I said, people think dying's the worst thing. It's not, because we're all, newsflash, we're all going to die. But then the judgment. And the worst thing that can happen to you is if you die without Jesus.
Ooh.
Because you have no hope. And as long as there's hope, you can make it. That's what I tell people.
Now, we're going to end this right here. Now, y'all just got to meet hopefully one of them going to be my closest friends. Not just in the dreamer world, and actually in the world. He can text me anytime he wants. He can talk to me anytime. And I enjoy your, will you be on Sundays? Because we have second and fourth Sunday at church. That's why I don't be on. But the first and third, oh yeah, I be there. I don't type. My wife is saying, "What you doing?" I'm listening to Ed. He hitting on some good points, and whoever that lady is that's in the background, they hitting on good points. I'm just taking it all in. That's all I'm doing. I said I had to have it. It's just something like it's like a drug to me. I have to listen to the word. I hate to say it that way, but that's how it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I agree.
Real quick, there was a post somebody put, I know on Facebook, said, say something good that's happened to you since the COVID. And I said, I used to have 20 in my Sunday school class. I got 150 now.
That's awesome.
What?
Well, if I get views, I get anywhere from 120 to 150. The first 2 weeks I did it, I had 300. And I just floored me. I couldn't believe it. Like you did, when you started your reaction channel, people tell you, you'll be like 50. What are you at, 12, 13,000, something like that now?
12,000, probably 400 something. But
Yeah.
but I'm not counting. So
no, those are the people you're affecting. And so they don't tune into your channel unless they like it. They got a lot of, and I'm not the only one trying to do something, but it was just blew me away, when I found out that I had that many, that follow me. Irene and them have been on there several times, and because that's right about 1 o'clock in the morning for them. So they just get done with their live stream, and every once in a while she'll pop on and she'll say, God bless you, Sir Ed, that Sir is their Mr. And so, and I've talked to her. I've talked to her back and forth a couple of times, and there's great people. So listen, I want to tell you, I really appreciate you asking me to do this. I hope that it helps you, and I hope that it'll help others. And if you ever have any questions, you can always text, email, message.
When I say you on my text message, if you can see that right there, when I say I'll be right at the computer. We're gonna go, but I'll be right at the computer, and I'm gonna do a reaction, and I pray first. And the first thing, I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, and I said, Lord, what do you want me to react to? Because I have so many actual genres. Because I don't let the Lockdown Kingdom stay in one genre.
Right. Of course.
So as soon as I said that, I seen Ed and said, "Who is Mecca?" And my wife had to break it down. I said, "What is MICA?" My wife said, "You so clueless. You watch these folks. You can't understand that's the abbreviation for each one of their names: Miley, Irene, Selena, and Amira." I got up from the computer and walked away.
I got him, Ed.
I didn't even look at the picture. I just said, "What does Ed and Son mean now?"
He always said it. I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. He boasts about his dreaming. I said, okay. I just let him talk. So I finally got one up on him this time.
But we're gonna go ahead and let you go, sir. And
it was a blast.
A blast just hearing how God had blessed you in your life. We're praying for your daughter, and we're praying for your whole family.
Please keep us posted.
And keep us posted. And one day, hopefully, one day when all this crisis thing get us, sir, I'm gonna ride in that vet.
You won't believe it. It's crazy. My wife said it's gotten crazy. It's ridiculous, and it's a streetcar. I take it to Costco. I take it everywhere.
No. You showed me how fast it went on the YouTube part of it. I like, should I get in this thing or what?
Yeah, I do a lot of car shows, and the kids love it, people love it, and it's a lot of fun. So,
but like I said again, 1 up, 1 down, Mississippi on lockdown. We're here with Ed. Have a great day. Peace.
We love you, Ed.
Love you, Ed.
Talk to you later.
Yes, sir.
Bye.